it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am filming here in front of our Christmas tree. We just put it up this past weekend. We got a bunch of little trees and lights and stuff all around, so I'm super excited to have it up. Hopefully it works with the filming. It could mess it up, who knows. The video I am filming for you guys today is my end of the year TBR. I have chosen 8 books to share with you guys today that I hope to finish by the end of December. I have been reading about 2 books a month for the past 5 or 6 months. Prior to that, I read 12 to 14 books a month. So you can tell the state of what has been going on in my life by how much I am reading. 8 books is way too many to read in the next month and a week or so, but here we are. So these are the 8 books that I hope to finish before 2022. Alright, so like I said, I am going to share with you the books that I have on my TBR for the next few months. And the first book up is one that I have tried to read before. I used to own this book, now I got it from the library, and that book is the first book in the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. So this here is House of Earth and Blood, and it is the first book in Sarah J. Maas's most recent adult fantasy series, also known as Crescent City. Crescent City is about a girl named Bryce who is living the good life. She's living the partying life, and her friend ends up being killed by a demon. Bryce meets a fallen angel named Hunt, and they are going to try and get into the investigation to figure out who killed her friend. So the reason I had trouble with this book the first time I read it is because there's a huge info dump at the beginning. I'm usually an info dump kind of gal. But I just gotta get through this one. I've heard the romance is amazing. I've heard the world building is incredible, and the sequel in the Crescent City series, I believe is coming out either in January or February. I know it has a beautiful blue cover, so I think it'd be really awesome to get to this one before that one comes out, and then I can read them back to back. So December for me is basically gonna be like a Sarah J. Maas readathon. Because the next one I want to read is this guy right here, which is Kingdom of Ash. I have read the first 10 pages in this book about 3 times. I know I'm gonna weep. This is the last book in the Throne of Glass series, which I've talked to you guys about before, which is a YA fantasy, again, by Sarah J. Maas. Throne of Glass is essentially a YA series about a lost queen who is trying to save her people and her kingdom that she is from. Throne of Glass has many plot points. It has many twists and turns, lots of cool creatures, lots of interesting magic, lots of romance, friendships, and it's really just an excellent YA series. The book before this, Tower of Dawn, was my favorite in the series, and a lot of people said that this might become my new favorite, Kingdom of Ash. It's almost 1,000 pages. I'm kind of scared of it, but I really hope to read this one as well. I think once I get into it, I'm really going to breeze through it because I'm just going to want to know what happens next. And finally, to wrap up my Sarah J. Maas obsession, is this one, ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses. So I definitely want to read this one. This will be a reread for me. I've also started the first 10 pages of this book about 5 times in my attempt to do a reread, but I really want to read A Court of Silver Flames again. You guys know that is one of my favorite books of all time, and in order for me to do that, I feel like I need to reread this whole series. A Court of Thorns and Roses is a new adult / adult fantasy series by, again, Sarah J. Maas, and it is about a girl named Farah who is hunting to get food to save her family, and she ends up hunting a fairy, also known as Fae. So she gets taken away to a new magical kingdom where the Fae live as punishment for killing that Fae. This is definitely an enemies to lovers romance. There is a lot going on in this first book. However, if you have read the series or are familiar at all, you know that the first book and the last 3, 4, several books have very different opinions on them by the fandom. And I'm a fan of the last 3 books, not so much of the first 2 books. I want to reread this series starting from the beginning because I want to find things in the first book that I didn't see the first time. Most books that I've reread, I reread them like 5 times, like over and over and over again, and this will be my first reread for this one. I know I didn't like this first book when I first started it because of some things with the romance, and so we'll see what I think of when I read it for a second time. I'm excited to get through it so I can get to the others in the series, and eventually get to my reread of A Court of Silver Flames. The next book that I want to read is a newer release in the YA fantasy world. It is by Elizabeth Lim, and it is this one right here, which is Six Crimson Cranes. Six Crimson Cranes is about a girl who is a princess and she has magic, but she's not allowed to show that magic, and so on the day in which she is supposed to get married, she does show that magic and gets in a lot of trouble. Her stepmother finds out that she has this forbidden magic, and as a result, she turns her brothers into cranes. Our main character struggles with this because her stepmother has basically said to her, anytime that you talk to someone about what has happened here today, one of your brothers will die. I'm really excited to read this one because I think the folklore aspect is incredible. It's a story that I have not heard before. The cover of the book is stunning. Every edition of Elizabeth Lim's books are absolutely beautiful, and I think this is going to be a really fun read. Everyone that I've seen who has read it has loved it, and whenever I ask for recommendations, they say this is the first one I should read. Alright, so Good Girl Bad Blood, like I said, is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Looks like this, and I'm super excited to read this one. I can't tell you much without spoiling it, but what I can tell you is that the first book in this series I think almost anybody would like. It's a YA mystery true crime story, and it is just fantastic. It is written in the form of our main character's journals as she works on a school project about true crime. At this point, she has created a podcast as well. I can't wait to get to this sequel. I'm scared of the third book because I know so many people that hate it. But we'll see. Maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't, but I'm really excited to at least read the second and see where the story goes. The next one that I need to read is this one. It's The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This is a running joke for me at this point with me and my boyfriend. He has read this book, I haven't. He doesn't read. So I really need to get to this one. He begs me to read it literally every single day. It is a mystery, twisty sort of story reminiscent of Agatha Christie about a man who is trying to figure out the killer of Evelyn Hardcastle. In this story, our main character is trying to figure out the killer, but every day that he doesn't figure it out, she dies again. And in this case, he is trying to figure out clues as to who it is, but each day when he wakes up, he's in a new place with a new setting and a bunch of new clues. It sounds like an amazing mystery story. Y'all know I love mysteries, and so I'm really excited to read it and to get my boyfriend to stop begging me to do it. And knowing my luck, it'll become a new favorite. Alright, and the next book I want to talk about is The Toll. The Toll is the third book in the Side series, which is a YA dystopian series about a world where hunger and poverty and death have been overcome, and society has enacted sides, or people to kill other people so that the population doesn't go over what Earth's carrying capacity is. These sides are supposed to be the best people in the world who have the best conscience, but obviously we know that that could go awry. I don't want to spoil too much, obviously talking about the third book, but this series is a crazy wild ride. Y'all know if you watched my last video that I ranked this as my top finished series that I have on my shelf. It is my favorite series that I've ever read, and rereading it again has been such a joy for me. This book is crazy, the whole series is absolutely crazy, and I just love getting to experience it again. Toll is the concluding book in this series, and it is much longer than the other two. It's a little bit more of a journey. It takes you all sorts of different places, but I'm really excited to finish up this series again and just experience it as a whole. And the last book I'm going to read is The Trials of Morgan Crow, which is the first book in the Nevermore series. Nevermore is about a girl who is cursed. Her name is Morgan, and basically she is supposed to die on her 11th birthday. That is the fortune that she has as a cursed child, and it's all that she's ever expected in her life. It's all that her family has ever expected in her life as well. So like I said, these are the 8 books that I want to get to in 2021 before the end of the year. I hope you guys liked learning about them, and maybe some of y'all will read them with me, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!